Hi, everybody. We're back again with another episode of Red, White, and Brown on Live. And we have with us today Nilanjana. Nilanjana, we are a great admirer of your work. You are a producer, but you also wrote a very important series. Why I call it very important is because if you read a review, guys, and people who follow us on social media and who follow our work know that we tear series apart. We really call it out if it doesn't make sense. But there was one series that we couldn't find one single problem with, and that
Thank you
was
so much.
Dhadkans in the Geeky.
So grateful.
Absolutely loved
Really.
it. We reviewed it for you guys every day on social media, but we also reviewed it on our website. And if you want to find it, it's on our website in the series format. And we wrote a lot about the kind of issues that the series was able to tackle in such a short time, but also how convincingly it actually put everything together. And I think that was the satisfaction of the whole thing without leaving any of the loose ends. Nilanjana, what made you write something of this sort? And, just the challenge of putting a limited series together with such powerful characters.
So the reason why, so I've been a great admirer of medical shows all my life, right? And of course, we've had some in India, but none of them are authentic. They were more, it was mostly drama. It was not a medical drama per se. And it's something that really interests me. It's very funny, but medicine is my hobby. I mean, I know it sounds really strange, but
Like
it's
90%
something
of
I'm
India
obsessed with.
self-medicates, right?
I'm like literally obsessed with it. If someone coughs, I start diagnosing. I'm really bad. So, I mean, that's always been a passion, okay, to do an authentic medical drama. That is the first reason. The second reason was also I've been in this industry for the last 22 years, and though I've written and produced many different kinds of shows, but a large chunk of my career has been in the channel, where I've worked on most of these soaps that you tear apart, like from 2000 to 2009, I think. So there's always been, there was always a desire to tell an authentic story of a woman in a workplace. For such a long time, all we have seen is a woman in the house. And, you know, the drama is always about winning a man over so that she can have power within the household, right? That is a reality for a lot of women. So I am not discounting that at all, but I'm just talking about as a storyteller. I got tired of that and I was really looking for an opportunity, where I would be able to tell an authentic story of women in the workplace and women in society. Because having, we all have our experiences. So many of them are so similar, right? A lot of the stuff that we've shown in Dharkan doesn't necessarily happen to women in hospitals alone. It happens to women everywhere. Like even with the patient stories, we have covered a lot of sexism and the kind of struggles that you go through. And this is something that I don't come. I'm not from Mumbai. I'm from Assam, and I have like traveled out of a small town, made it here, a single woman. You know, the kind of discrimination, the kind of subtle sexism, everyday sexism, has bothered me a lot. And it bothers everyone. It angers you, and there is nothing you can really do about it beyond a point. I think the blessing of being a storyteller is that you can perhaps talk about it and get some catharsis in your stories. So it's been a very personal. It's a very personal show. It's been a dream for a very long time, and I'm very grateful I got the opportunity to do a limited series, because then where you're headed and how you're headed there. I had 2 years to write it, so that's why we got that kind of time. Also, we were not pushed by the channel that you have to put it on air tomorrow or something. And there was zero interference. There was zero feedback from them. It was like they kind of realized that it's a personal story and they let it be. So we had finished shooting, I think, around 60 episodes before we went on air. So there was never any question of ratings pressure. That's the thing that actually harms most television shows in India, because they're dailies, and now you get daily ratings. I mean, it's as if weekly was not enough. So, and there is always panic. There is always panic. No matter how well you're doing, there's always panic if the ratings fall by even 0.1. So Dharkan luckily never had that pressure. It was, and I was told by Danish Khan, who's the business head of Sony, that, write it like a web show. I mean, I really have to mention him, because as women who want to tell stories about women, if you have allies in men like Danish Khan, it just becomes so much easier. Someone who really understands. I mean, honestly, like in the 2 years of writing, there were times when I would doubt myself or I would go a little lost, and he would bring me back on track, saying, no, don't forget why you want to tell the story. So that, I think that kind of partnership with the channel also really helped, because at no point was I told to dumb it down, because that's usually कि हमारी audience नहीं समझेंगे, अरे भाई बताओ तो सही. Like, I have done a lot of historicals, right? And even in that, I wrote the show for Ashoka, and we were told by the channel कि ये dialogues इतने मतलब it was very ये शुद्ध हिंदी. लोग समझेंगे क्या? अरे समझेंगे यार, मतलब. And now today we live in the age of Google. If you don't understand something, you Google. It's just about catching the interest, right? So a lot of people who have watched Dharkan have said, okay, we don't understand the medical terminology necessarily. But that has not been a roadblock. That usually that is what happens, because you're told to dumb it down.
So it's a chicken and egg story, and this is what we feel. It's like, unless you make the stories that people would want to watch, they wouldn't know what they want to watch.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
You cannot keep serving the same drama to people over 30, 40 years and expect them to be liking the same. There is so much fatigue in people with the same stories. Now you pick up stories. There is this entire Kundali series, and I'm going unfiltered on this. The entire, the stock of Kundalis, right? Whether they have a Kundali in it or not, bhagyas and whatever else they are appended or preponed with. Uh, Literally, they have the same storyline. Same storyline.
So
It's like
Miran,
they have one writing team, and they're actually picking up blocks, and it's like templates that are getting shoved into these stories. It's a template-sized factory of situations that are getting fitted into storylines on an everyday basis. Is that true? Is this how it happens?
No. So I think there are two things. There are two answers to your question, two very different parts. Okay, one is strategic and the other is creative. Strategically, if I have been watching television for 20 years, of course I'm fatigued, right? Because I have seen the same thing happen over and over again in Hindi, in regional, everywhere. The thing is, I have not been watching TV for the last 20 years. So the television audience, so what happened was, like, I'm talking about, say, pre-2000, where there were shows like Astitva, there were shows like Hasrate, there were shows like Banegi Apni Baat on ZTV. That was a time, and ZTV was number one at the time. And these were progressive shows. These were feminist shows. At the time, the people watching television were mainly metro urban. Okay, because that's the economics of it. The people who could afford a cable connection and a TV set were educated, middle class to upper middle class. So the kind of content that was made then appealed to them. You cut to a 2006, 2007, when the TRP meters went from metros into the smaller towns. The mindset changed. See, India also, I'm just talking about the Indian audience in India, not outside of India. A UP is very different from a Maharashtra, from a Bengal, from a Punjab, right? It's not one homogeneous audience in any which case. But as you went to the smaller towns, the kind of telling changed. From 2000 onwards to 2006, you saw, let's call it the Kyunki Kahani age, right? So that happened, and middle class India in bigger towns and in cities watched it to a huge number. Then the meter system, the rating system went inside. The meters went into the smaller towns. So a lot of the people who were watching a Kyunki Kahani moved out of television. We lost a lot of viewership there. but the viewership started coming from smaller towns. So they saw the same Kyuki Kahani template stories, but they have not seen it earlier. And that has been the cycle. Like every, 7 years, I would say, the cycle has just been repeated, different age groups and different places.